Hi there. I'm Amanda Nicole, and this is the first in a series that I'd like to gift you titled All Things Made New. So, the plant medicine that I'm going to be presenting to you is plant medicine for the church, for the Christian church in particular, for the institution itself, for the entity of it, but also for those who are inside of it, those who are along the edges, and those who are in transition. Maybe some are leaving. I suppose I should give a bit of my background so that you can know why I would even want to offer plants in this way and how I would even know what to offer, what plants are needed. So I was raised in East Tennessee and I attended a small Baptist church for my entire life. I think that I was in church the moment that I could breathe. And I went to services Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night, Sunday school, vacation Bible school at my church, at other churches, revivals, tent meetings. I went to a small Christian school for all of my growing up years, elementary, junior high, high school. I was just immersed in the Christian church, particularly the Baptist church. And it we were married, and he did become a minister, a preacher at a very small church in Virginia, maybe an hour or so outside of DC, there along the Blue Ridge and the Shenandoah. And that particular church was of the Reformed churches. So they're Presbyterian, but they're much more conservative. They hold to a particular confession, the Westminster Confession, and particular creeds. And this particular sect of that group, um, some of the particular ways that they express their belief and their beliefs is they don't observe holidays like Christmas or Easter. There are no musical instruments in the worship services. They sing psalms exclusively and from a particular psalter that was created in the 1600s. Women cover their heads, and obviously, in saying that, it would also be communicated that women are not speaking or teaching or holding any sort of leadership roles there. Um, there's more that could be said, but that gives you an idea. And it was a very small church, and I was the pastor's wife there for over a decade, I guess maybe 12 years or so. I'd have to do the math. And that was quite a shift for me coming from the Baptist church because I had grown up singing hymns and gospel and really throwing myself into the holidays with Christmas cantatas and Easter cantatas and all sorts of things. And even though women did not have teaching roles or leadership roles in the church that I grew up in, um, they did do Sunday school and other things, and I do believe had more of a voice than the group I ended up in as an adult. So you're probably thinking, how in the world did you get here from there? That's quite a journey and probably for another video series, but I would like to say that I'm thankful for my time in the church growing up. There were people there who loved me and were kind to me, and I was given Jesus and the Christ and love. There was talk of love and ideas that were planted, seeds that were planted that will come up in the videos and come up some in my poetry that I write. And if you were ever to speak to me, if we had conversations, you'd find more. I will say, though, that as an adult, my time in the Reformed Church was quite different and much more difficult, and a lot more tears were shed in that context because I found it to be so lacking in love, and really a dark night of the soul there, and trying to participate and be supportive and be a wife and a pastor's wife, and then really struggling with a lot of the beliefs and practices, and just not recognizing the God that was being presented to me there. So now I still consider myself to be a Christian. As you might imagine, a good many in the Christian church would not consider me to be that. But I do consider myself to be a Christian. This is the path that I've chosen. Of many, I think. I like to weave things together. I'm not one for being in a box. I still love Jesus and Christ here. And I do believe in love and a world being made new. I believe in some of the things that I think are very rooted, foundational, but lost tenements of the institution of the Christian church. So I still have a heart for that entity and for the people that are there. I will say, though, it's occasioned an enormous amount of pain for me, and sadly, I've occasioned an enormous amount of pain for others by being in it and by practicing some of its practices and holding some of its doctrines and beliefs. So I want to offer medicine because I need medicine for healing. I believe the church as an entity, as an institution, needs healing. And I believe that many, if not most or all, of those in it are in need of healing. And of course, there are many that have been leaving and that will leave that are in need of healing. And we're very blessed, as they say, to have medicine all around us. The plants are here. The remedy is here. It's right here. And it's very gentle, but very direct and connected to the divine. We speak of creation, and there is a creator, and these things are here for us. I'm just sort of breathing and feeling it all for just a moment. I would also like to say that the plants that I'll be offering here for the Christian church can apply to all sorts of situations and people. There's a lot of medicine to be had here, so I would encourage you, even if your background isn't mine, to gather it up. It's good medicine, and it's gifted. It's gifted medicine. So one of the ways that the church speaks is by saying that the well are not in need of a physician. It's the sick who are in need of a physician, of a doctor. And sometimes I'm not sure that the church knows that it's not well. I'm not sure it knows that. And certainly on my part, when I was there, I didn't know that it wasn't well. I didn't know that I wasn't well. And so my hope is that in making these videos and in offering this medicine, it'll sort of ripple out, and that questions will be asked, and maybe veils will be lifted and things will be seen and heard and begin to be understood where, I am in need of medicine. I'm in need of healing. I also would like to say that the church spends a great deal of time talking about being saved or saving souls. And I've come to believe that it's the church that's in need of saving. So I'm going to offer a bit of medicine. The first plant that I want to offer in this video, and I may unpack it in a future video, but for today, after this introduction, I want to offer violet, sweet violet. The little purple flowers that you find in your yard in the spring, sometimes they're white, but often it's purple. That's how we know them. So these sweet violets are wonderful for the throat, right here. So how am I able to make these videos? Because I have to tell you, it's been a bit difficult. There's been a good bit of criticism, accusation, even attacks energetically and otherwise. So I've held a great bit of fear in what I want to say, what I'm comfortable saying, what I should say, as they say. And I've been quiet a good bit. So I want to thank Violet for making it possible for me to speak. Violet has traditionally been used as an expectorant, and it's beneficial for coughs. It's cool, it's moistening. Traditionally, it was used in whooping cough remedies, but it has more than just these physical attributes. That's one of the lovely things about the world, not just the plants, but the rocks and the stones and the rivers and the sky and the clouds and the animals, is that there's not only care there for our physical bodies, but there's care there for our spirits, for our emotions, our hearts, our souls. So on an energetic level, violet is helpful for the voice, for finding your voice, you know. So in the institution of the church, I think most of you would know that a great many people have been silenced. There are very few who are allowed to speak or to teach or to say or instruct or admonish or exhort or all of these other words that the church likes to use. A great many have been silenced, a great many. The primary person that is connected with the Christian church, Jesus of Nazareth, was silenced. That's enough. What he had to say made people so angry that they wanted to kill him, and they did. He is not the first. There were prophets that came before him that were also silenced. In the church, women are most certainly silenced. Yes, no question. Children are silenced. Those who do not hold what they call offices, leadership positions, are silenced. Only those people can pray or teach in the public setting, even if maybe they're not the most qualified or the most connected to spirit, but because they have the credential or the stamp and the approval of the church, regardless of the stamp and approval of the divine or of spirit. Those who are in other minority groups, Black people, brown people, their voices are silenced in the church. People with dissenting views or what the church would consider scandalous or questionable lifestyles are silenced in the church. Sometimes, to tell you the truth, I think the spirit itself, herself, himself, the spirit is silenced in the church. The church would use the word quenched. So what violet helps us do is, if we have been silenced, if we are one of those who have been silenced, if we are one of those whose voice has been taken, if someone has put their hand over our mouth, if someone has told us that our voice does not matter and it's not allowed and it's not authoritative, holds no authority. In other words, nothing you say matters. Nothing you say holds any waters or holds water. Nothing that you say is of any consequence and should influence anyone else. If you've been told that about your voice, which is a voice given to you by the divine, by God, by source, by the spirit, then violet is for you. Violet helps you find your voice. It helps you have courage to say what you need to say. It helps you tell the truth, because the truth is not always being told. That's one of the lovely things about violet medicine. When violet begins to help you speak, when you find your voice, don't worry, don't be afraid, because you may think, I'm so full of anger, like maybe I shouldn't say what I have to say, it would hurt people. I'm afraid to say it. Don't worry, because part of what violet does is not only help you find your voice what you're going to say, the content of it, but it helps you say it the way it needs to be said, the truest way it needs to be said. And the truest way is the most loving way. That doesn't mean that when you speak, it may not be firm or there may not be anger, but it will be, because violet is cooling, it will be cooled to the right temperature, and you'll be able to do it. And you'll have the courage to do it. Violet is a medicine of visibility, invisibility, and visibility. So some of us in the church, we just aren't seen. We're just invisible. I saw this so often as a pastor's wife. I would see visitors come into the church and people would just ignore them. It was bizarre to me. We have a guest, we have a visitor. Don't you see them sitting over there alone? Don't you see them standing over there alone? You should go say hi to them, welcome them. Some of us may not have even have been a visitor, or a guest in a church and felt invisible. Some of us may have been there for years and think we're invisible, feel that. I've certainly had that experience, even recently, to be in a church, in a place where, do they not see me? I must not be here. What does it take to get noticed in this church? Do you ever wonder that? Should I be a certain color to be noticed in this church? Should I have a certain gift to be noticed in this church? Should I wear a certain outfit? Should I be married, not married? Should I have a certain number of children? Should I believe a certain thing? What makes me valuable here? What makes me seen? Here's something else that's wonderful with violet. Sometimes in the church, we feel that we need to hide certain parts of ourselves. And I'm going to tell you something. It is not because those parts of ourselves are, as the church would say, sinful or bad or wicked or dark. No. We feel we have to hide those parts of ourselves because the church will judge and it will disapprove. What if we're disciplined? What if we're ostracized? What if we're not accepted? What if we're not loved? So in order to be a part of the church because we want to, or because we've been told this is where you find God, you want to find God, so you go there, but spoken or unspoken, what the rules are. And so you hide parts of yourself. So violet helps you begin to be seen, begin to know that you are loved, you are good, you are accepted by the divine, and you can be seen and known. I think it's time to finish up with this video and this bit of violet medicine, although there's more, so maybe she'll come along later. The last bit that I'd like to offer for those of you who have been hurt in the church by the people or by the institution. And it's probably been a deep part of you. I know for me, it's been my whole life, and it was the place where I was going, to find God exclusively, for a very long time. And so there's a great deal of sadness. There's a great deal of anger. There's a great deal of grief. So violet's lovely for this. Violet helps us express. So when I say find our voice, it may not just be something to say or write or sing, in my case, with the exclusive psalmody being part of the picture, but express. Express your sadness, express your grief, express your anger. Let it come up and out your throat and express it. So here's the lovely thing that happens after we find a way to express sadness and anger and grief. There's room then in our hearts for something else. Our hearts aren't full of those emotions anymore. They've got expression, they're flowing. That's something lovely with violet. It's considered a lymphatic, gets the inner waters, the deep waters flowing physically, but also emotionally, energetically. And so then what there's room for is joy. There's room for joy. When I was in the church, they were always talking about how we should be joyful and have joy. And I'm going to tell you, I looked around and I just wasn't really seeing very much joy. There weren't very many joyful people, like 1 in 100, maybe. And the rest of us were just struggling, trying to figure out what is joy even, and how do I feel it, and how do I express it. And then the Bible doesn't just talk about joy, it talks about joy abundantly, overflowing. So much so you can't contain it. I have no idea what they're talking about. And I had so many people say, I just struggle with it. I don't know what they're talking about. Huh? We need to make some room in our hearts. Here's some things that need to move out so that joy can move in and find its expression. I'm just thinking there's so much medicine. We'll stop there. Thank you so much for joining me for this series. There'll be quite a few more videos to come. And if you'd like to join me for classes, I often teach online or in person. And if you'd especially like to join me for a class that's going to be solely on herbs and medicines for the church and healing from the trauma that's inside of it and the trauma that has been occasioned by it on the outside, that class will be called Leaves of the Tree. Then join my email newsletter so you can know when that is up and going. It looks like summer is when we'll start that. Thank you so much for listening. I hope that the violet is good medicine for you. And I hope that you know that you are seen and loved by the divine. There is space outside of the church. Okay, until the next video.